This is Erin Heard talking to you from the U.S. National Science Foundation's McMurdo Station in Antarctica. You're listening to Verbal Shenanigans.
But our shenanigans are cheeky and fun.
Yeah, I mean, his shenanigans are cruel and tragic.
Which makes them not shenanigans at all, really. Evil shenanigans.
I swear to God, I'll pistol whip the next guy that says shenanigans.
Hey everybody, welcome on back to the Verbal Shenanigans podcast yet again. I told you we'd be back. We're almost back on schedule. We're like a day behind. That's not bad. But another slow week in politics. It's just the way it is. So I'm glad you found something to distract yourself from the slow news week and come to a show where we just make guests happy. We interview people. They are begging to come back on the show. They can't say enough nice words about us. And that's kind of how it started with you, Mike. I mean, you were a guest initially, and a couple of weeks later, you were full-time host because you love the show so much.
Yep, and I'm sorry, Scott. I'm not like Joe Biden. I'm not stepping down. I'm going full force. You're going to get me till my mid-80s, and there's nothing you can do about it. You can try to pressure me all you want with your super PACs. I'm going forward with this. I'm sorry.
So you were saying there's no term limits in the Verbal Shenanigans?
No.
Universe.
I'm like the Supreme Court, man. Until I breathe my final breath, I don't have to go anywhere, my friend. Sorry.
All right, so we got a solid 2 years left or something. So,
I mean, 2.5. I mean,
yeah.
I've been exercising for gosh sakes.
So, welcome on back, everybody. We're coming off a very fun week here. If you tuned in last week, we had Dirk Rogers on, who was a very interesting guy, puppeteer, actor, singer, special effects connoisseur. So we got a lot of good feedback on that interview. But Mike, I think we should start with a little bit about an interview we did about 2 episodes ago, I guess it was.
2 episodes ago, yeah, I think it was around that time frame.
Yes. So to give you a little background, me and Mike, a lot of times what happens is we get like a genre or a hobby or, an idea for the show of someone we haven't talked about. Now, you might have seen in the past couple of weeks, we had 2 sled racers on, 2 mushers on, actually 3 technically, because 2 of them were twins. And that came from the idea of, I don't think we've ever had a dog sled racer on. Okay. And then we go out and we try to search the internet and search the world for these people. And then sometimes it happens serendipitously where they all email us back and we're like, oh crap, now we have 4 dog racers. I believe there's another one somewhere still out there where he's like, I don't really know why you're emailing me, but I find it pretty hilarious, so I'll probably come on the show.
I still demand you put him on here. And the guy literally says I was 45th in a no-name race, but if you want me to talk about dogs, yeah, sure, come on.
So it's kind of like a snowball effect. It's happened a lot with musicians that we've had where we start with one artist from a certain label, and then they give us all the artists from their label, and we're like, oh wow, now these are bands we've never heard of, and a lot of them have turned out really cool. It's opened us up to all sorts of interesting people, and we've had great contacts over the years. Now, we decided a while ago that we never had a slap fighter on. Okay, and now if you've probably seen it on the internet or seen it if you're a UFC fan. You see the commercials. It's Dana White's new company. Even before Dana White, you saw that there was a lot of clips online of people just basically slapping each other and being horrifically injured or knocked out. So we decided to go into that territory. Let's get one of these guys on.
Yeah. Before I continue, I would say I am starting my own slap fight federation where everybody are wusses. So they do like the dinosaur arms, if you will, the Tyrannosaurus Rex, and they're like, stop it. And it's just like 20-minute fights from that.
It's actually called tisk tisk, right? You slap each other on the hand.
Cut it out. And all. I mean, I feel it is the new wave and all, not this like real fighter stuff.
Like when my son is like being annoying or putting his hands in my face, I give him a little tap on the top of the hand, like knock it off kind of thing.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. You could be our future champion, Scott. But I digress. Yeah. So I kind of got the idea and I started moving with that, and we got somebody came back and said, "Sure, I will do it." Mm-hmm. I kind of leave names out for the moment. I will say this person was not the person we had on the show, the original person we had it. So it's like, hey, great. How about this date at this time? And absolutely, I'm right there. I do my usual thing, like two days before. Hey, you still good for blah, blah, blah? Absolutely, I'm going to be there. Time comes, and Scott just waiting. Nothing at all.
And totally. I will say this was a couple nights where we had like interviewed a guest already, recorded a show already. We'd be waiting late into the night, kind of.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the first time was that person had their original date and nothing happened, and then they got back, and this person was like, "Oh man, I'm so sorry. Work wouldn't let me leave. So I'm terribly sorry." No, where we just had an image of like Dana White holding on to somebody and just somebody slaps him in the face all night. But I digress. So yeah, then it's like, all right, I'll give you another date. No show. Sorry. I give another date. Man. Here's my cell phone and all. They call me, text me on the cell phone. I think we rescheduled this person 5 or 6 times. Mm-hmm. And then literally like it's the 6th time I had their phone number. He's like, because this person was a DJ or a rapper or something like that. He's like, I just got a last minute open mic I'm sorry, man. Totally gave up on this human being.
Yes.
The side story to said human being is after we did our actual interview, I was on his Instagram, and it has a link and link tree to all my stuff. And I click on it. At the bottom, kind of notice Pornhub.
Oh,
this person. Yes.
Really?
Yeah. Now so I'm like, at first I'm like,
did you go further?
Yes, I did go further because it said, I'm like, this is a joke. Because even the story, hey, you can always come up to me if you recognize me from Slap Fight, if you recognize me as a DJ, if you recognize me from Pornhub. He literally referenced Pornhub on a story. So I'm like, this is a cute little joke or whatever. And I click the link. And let's say this person not only slaps faces, but he slaps his own meat.
Wow. His own?
Yeah. His own. That's his videos. It's just like I don't know how you're gonna recognize it, because literally as I like scroll down, it's just him holding on to himself. So you kind of figure out what he's doing there.
I like that you had to scroll down and check out all of
it's like one of those. It's like, all right. You gotta have a partner somewhere, right? It's like, nope, just me.
Yeah, sounds like you may have watched a little bit too much of his content.
Which makes me also worry about like when he's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I was working late." It's like, what was it that? Is that why you blew us off? I mean, come on.
Maybe that's ingenious. Like maybe that we're always looking for different outlets to put the podcast. Maybe we need a Pornhub channel.
We did an interview that will come out later where we talked about me in the shower. So it's coming. It's coming.
Yeah. I mean, I always thought that would be funny too. Like on those like cam sites where people cam with each other, just like have us podcasting where they just like tune in and they're like, what the hell? Like, what is this?
Scott, the guy in Russia who's naked doesn't like our podcast. This is totally unfair.
Yeah.
So that closed out that person.
Yeah.
And we scheduled our guests and all, Babyface, who is now the welterweight champion slap fighting.
Mm-hmm. And congratulations, Babyface.
Yeah. So it started off with, like, for starters, I'm not sure if it got in the interview, but he tried to blow us off that night, if you recall, Scott, because he talked about, I was going to get a ride because he lives in Detroit and the NFL draft was that night.
Yeah.
He's like, I was waiting for a ride and they didn't show up. Where the first thing is like, well, why are you telling us? Like, you're literally saying you were basically going to say F you to our podcast and whatever. And we do the podcast, you listened to it 2 weeks ago, people, certain opinions I've heard, but
let me step in here. Let me step in here. You're being too nice right now.
I'm being too nice?
You're being too nice, okay?
Well, correct me, Scott.
Yes, okay. First off, we were never, like, I think the slap fighting world is pretty much a complete joke, as do most, like, MMA fans. It is a horrific sport. Like, it is. I mean, there was a point where I asked this guy, what do you guys do about the dangers of the sport? It's a dangerous sport. And he's like, nah, man, it's not dangerous at all, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, you're getting slapped as hard as you possibly could in the face with no defense. And people are just falling over. It is a very dangerous sport. That is clearly what it is. And the slap fighting community, I'm going to say, like, doesn't seem to be the most,
articulate?
Smooth around the edges, yes. Articulate. It seems to be like a bunch of guys that you would be like, yeah, that guy would be in a slap fight league. Whereas, like, MMA fighters will surprise you a lot. They're not all like these, big. Yeah. Right? A lot of them are very smart and intelligent and, like, very, very friendly and calm and well. Like Jim Miller came on the show twice. I mean, that guy's had 50 fights and he's out there hunting and farming and talking to his fans, very articulate. We've had a couple other guys. It is an archaic sport, if you want to even call it that. Everyone that's like, wow, Dana White is pushing that is like, wow, that is a major step back for Dana White. Like, it's ridiculous. So I had no real hopes about the slap fighters coming on, the two of them that we had scheduled. And ironically, you almost got another one, that super jacked girl that sent you that.
The third one that we didn't get, like, she's like super jacked and she's like got like a 1.6 million on Instagram, and I kept you could keep chiming. Let's just say not getting responses.
Yeah,
but
I'm surprised she didn't have a link to Pornhub, judging by some of her pictures and content that was.
Fingers crossed, buddy. I'll keep checking the links.
So during the interview, I'm like, this guy is like, I mean, he's ranting left and right. He's dropping F-bombs left and right. He's just, he's just like talking to your drunk. And you could tell he was certainly under the influence, definitely drinking during the show. I think he even mentioned that he was drinking during, the interview and whatnot. Completely out of it.
I think he had twisted tea or something like that.
Exactly. So while you're being nice, I have to at least give the audience the straight what was going on there. We sometimes message during these interviews. I remember being like, this guy's shot. Like, this guy's completely shot, rambling, ranting, almost like a guy that gets hit in the head for a living. It almost seemed like he was that type of guy. So
yeah, it's almost as if you want people to aim for other body parts instead of just your face all the time. Like, even in boxing, they're like, let me try the stomach and a couple times. But
like, a lot of reason these guys are able to box and fight is because they're able to roll away from punches. They're able to defend themselves. They're able to, get hit and move away. These guys have to stand there and take essentially a straight up punch to the face. Yeah.
Absolutely. So we finish up the interview, get our tag. And we go, hey, have a good night, sir. And we figure it was going to hang up. Our guest, I guess, just figures if you turn off the camera, that it shuts off the Zoom call.
He's also, let me remind everyone, a slap fighter who gets hit in the face all the time, who was drinking the entire interview. So he might not know anything that happened on the interview.
Scott, coincidences could happen and whatever. So he turns off his camera, and I guess a buddy comes down and says, hey, man, how's the podcast? And me and Scott just got to stare at each other for 10 minutes as he ripped us a new one.
He killed it. I think the first thing he said was, "That wasn't it, man. That wasn't it. They don't get it, man. They don't get it," or something along those lines.
He basically said that I had to move the interview because we didn't know stuff about slap fighting, where I would say, this is not the Power Slap podcast. This is not the MMA hour. This is nothing that was presented to him as, hey, we are fully a fighting podcast. We literally say, hey, by the way, we've had D. Snyder on the show. So we did not shadow what we are. We interview different people and we learn stuff about them.
Yeah, but we interview all walks of life. If you're tuning into the show and you think that this guest tonight is a slap fighter, this is the complete opposite tonight. So don't worry. We're not an all slap fighter podcast, just to let you know.
And I would kind of add, like, I was asking him questions about, I forget that ball and stick thing that he plays with. He's like obsessed with.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, Kalava or something like that. So, like, if I did no research, I'm not going to know you do it, brother. I don't ask every person. Thank you so much, President Biden. One final question. Do you play with a stick and a ball? I don't kind of do that.
Sure.
But he literally ranted for 10 minutes, and we were looking at each other, and there was kind of a moment where, like, do we hit record and use this? But I guess the fear of what obviously is you hit record and recording started. And we found right there.
Yeah, and they were basically going on. His buddy also sounded like he was pretty much under the influence. And like, yeah, man, I just want to, like, they're not expressing me, man. And myself, like, you could tell, like, he was thinking, like, coming on to our show was going to be like his game-changing interview where he, I don't know, presented himself in a way where everyone would become a fan. And let me tell you, babyface, I am not a fan. I am not a fan. In fact, I was hoping you would lose the night of your fight after the interview. Mike's a little bit nicer, I guess, than me, but yeah, I had zero interest during the interview, and I disliked the guy all the way through the interview. Not even that he just talked crap. That doesn't bother me. Actually, that was hilarious to me. But during the interview, he just came off as a kind of like a prick. I'm not gonna lie. He just kind of came off as a prick.
Yeah. I will say, as I sent you, and you're like, am I wrong in wishing he kind of got his rear end kicked in? And I was kind of like, no, there's a part of me that was waiting for that and all, but I mean, he won. He knows his sport.
I mean, the impression I got, he thought he was going on Rogan that night and was everyone in the world was gonna see this.
Jimmy Fallon sounded weird, bro. I can't believe he didn't know about slap fighting.
But I guess we did rebound after that. We did bring on a mega guest, if you will, in an interview.
Yeah. I mean, we're going to put him on right now, Scott.
Yeah. I mean, Mike, you want to introduce who we had on the show?
Oh, yeah. I mean, you're getting the full interview.
Mm-hmm.
This is not a joke who is in this recording. This is Charlie Duke, who is the youngest man to step foot on the moon. And he was an astronaut. He's a part of Apollo 16's mission.
Mm-hmm.
He stepped foot on the moon. I was working to get him on the podcast for a good 7-8 months, and he gave me a date. And Scott, let's put that interview up right now.
So, from babyface to a man who is literally on the moon. That's how we rebound on the podcast. That's the type of guest we get. So without further ado, here is our interview with Charlie Duke.
Hello.
Hi, is this Charlie Duke?
It is.
Hey, Charlie, it's Mike Berlew and Scott Brennan with Verbal Shenanigans. How you doing?
I'm fine. How are you? What you calling about?
We talked about it before you left for San Francisco. We were going to do a interview today at 4 p.m.
I don't remember doing that. I don't have it on my calendar, and I'm getting ready to go to my grandson's baseball game. He's in the finals.
Oh, okay.
So
That's no issue. What's a better date for you then?
What are we talking about, Michael? I'm sorry.
We talked about a week ago before you went to San Francisco about setting up a podcast interview.
Yeah. Okay, just about what? I'm sorry.
Just talking about your life, going to the moon and stuff like that.
Well, why don't I'm leaving for Dallas first thing in the morning, real early.
Okay.
And I've got a one interview in the morning, Zoom, and then I got to go to a meeting all afternoon. Heading back Thursday. Be back. Let's see. Tomorrow's. Wait a minute. Tomorrow's Tuesday. Be back Wednesday. Let me see my schedule. Let me get my calendar. I don't think. Hold on. I got to go downstairs to get a calendar. Hold on. Now I can't find my calendar. Michael, I'll call you back in a little bit. Let me find my calendar and check it, and maybe we can arrange something later on in the week, okay? Sorry about this.
No problem. Yeah, give us a call back when you're ready and we'll figure it out.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Bye. There you go, Scott. We learned so much about Charlie Duke's grandson's baseball schedule. We learned about Charlie Duke's ability to keep his calendar up to date. We learned that he gets confused at times when people call him, and he will pick up calls. So,
I thought he was on the moon when we called him. I thought, the way
maybe it was the atmosphere messing with like his connection, where it's like, this isn't Houston.
Maybe moon interviews have different time. Maybe to hit on the moon, it was like a 30-minute interview, but when it translates back down to Earth, it only comes to a minute and a half.
It spins around the sun at a different speed. I get what you're saying, Scott. Yeah. So, if you were wondering, I am not kidding when I tell you that was Charlie Duke.
Yeah, that was.
I will not.
By the way, before you go on, when we were about to do that interview, we were going to have a comic friend of mine we were going to interview that night, and I was like, I got to figure out a time. I'm interviewing Charlie Duke early in the day, and he goes, "The guy from the KKK?" I'm like, no. I'm like, no. And I sent him the Wikipedia on him. I'm like, oh. And he's like, oh, that's pretty cool too.
Yeah. So, I probably worked on this a good anywhere from 8 months to a year to set this up. Okay. Schedules get changed. It's not the first time somebody's like,
definitely not. We're talking to you, Sean Kemp.
Yeah. So I go, okay, fine. We'll get back to you. And he told me to call him. And for like a few weeks, because he said he was going on vacation or whatever, I would call him and he'd go right to voicemail and go, okay, he's got his cell phone shut off. He doesn't want to do anything or whatever. And like Scott was like, we should really schedule him. I'm like, yeah, he's not picking up his phone. And one day, as some of you may know from this podcast, as my full-time job, I'm an IT person, and my background is telephony. So I have abilities to do certain things, like change my caller ID. When after about a few weeks of it not picking up, I said, you know what? Let me try something. So I changed my number.
I like that. That's your threat. I have the ability to do a bunch of things, buddy. I could change my caller ID. So you know what?
Yeah,
That is the worst flex ever, Mike.
Listen, I mean, when I went to like the Hall of Justice and tried to apply as a superhero, I did not claim I could beat Superman. I was hoping for like that C tier of superheroes.
You just talked like you had big, giant swinging balls, and you're like, you know what? I got the ability to do certain things.
I was saying it more like
you tried to sound like a mob boss there. Like I can make you disappear. I got people. I got the family back in Italy. No, you can change your caller ID.
Yeah, well, it's still an ability. Can you change your caller ID, Scott? No. So hush.
I could probably Google it. Don't do that. Don't do that.
So, change my caller ID. Lo and behold, ringing. Picks it up. I'm like, hey, Charlie, Mike from Verbal Shenanigans. You told me to call you back about scheduling and whatnot. And he sounded really confused and forgot who we were, blah, blah, blah. So he's like, you got my email? Email me. So I sent out a couple emails. And then he finally responded, and his latest response was like, keep in mind, like this whole time, he's like, yeah, I'll do the show. No talks about fees or anything like that. Just out of the blue, he's like, let me know what your availability is in the next couple of months. Oh, by the way, I keep on getting hit up for podcasts, so I'm charging $1,000 now.
Yeah.
No, like we talked to some people who want to charge. I've heard $50. I've heard $200 and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, he's been on the moon. He's got his flex.
Maybe it's moon money. Maybe it's actually like $1.50.
Maybe he wants to
moon money.
Yeah, he needs to buy that green cheese up there. You know, inflation. Like, not only is the time different, but the inflation is way higher on the moon, Scott. So that's what $1,000 is.
You should pitch him that he could star in Moon Jail when we finally get that produced.
Oh, after this, he's like he'll be the evil warden of Moon Jail after this. So I nicely said, well, I mean, this is our availability, but we're like a small podcast and we can't afford $1,000. So you let me know. And he literally got it. Well, you have a good day.
Yeah.
So I will still claim I got an interview with him.
Yeah.
I will still update the IMDb on this episode with Charlie Duke on it. We have a second guest, ladies and gentlemen. We have a legit one, but
the best is that you can just keep changing your caller ID and torture this guy for the rest of his life. That's your revenge.
That's my superpower, man. I blocked that number. No, you went up one digit. No.
Your superhero name is just spam.
I'm blocking 5410. 5411.
Yeah. So the moral of this story is like doing this little podcast. It'd be so easy if me and Mike just sat down and talked to each other every week for an hour and that was the end of it. But having an independently run guest-driven show is very hard. Not that we're saying like we're changing the world here, but people will ask me like, "Oh, the podcast go. How do you get these guests? How do you get these guests?" The first question I always get asked, and is it all through myself and Mike? That is the extent of it. It's emails, calls, following up, and then just staying on top of people. And we have said in the past, it could be years. We have had several guests who have been years in the making, i.e. Sam Calgione, one of my favorite guests of all time. One of the guests I wanted to get on the podcast from the beginning. That took about 6 years.
Easily.
So are we like prolific in podcasting? No, but we are great at being annoying. So,
and I can change my caller ID, people. Yeah. You hear me, Sean Kemp? You think you're going to get away from me? No, you're not.
Mike, let's get to our actual guest tonight. Who we got?
Scott, as I was kind of getting the introduction ready for this person, I think this is still a landmark for us because I think this is officially all the continents of the United States, and we have an interview, or not in the United States, of the world we have done. I figure Sailing Totem we did in South America.
Sure.
We've had plenty of guests in Europe from Toby Philpott, who played Jabba the Hutt, and Sarah Alexander, your love interest, the world's largest sportswoman. Oh, wait, we don't have Africa. Never mind. We did have Asia with Elaine Robert. We've had people in Australia. So 6 out of 7.
We had Christian Okoye on. We had Christian Okoye.
The Nigerian Nightmare. Right, we'll get the asterisk, but
we did not know where he was calling from. So
yeah, we cannot confirm nor deny he was in Nigeria giving nightmares, okay? But we have a guest in Antarctica tonight. We have Erin Heard. He is the McMurdo Station manager. The McMurdo Station is a part of the National Science Foundation for the United States and is a facility on Antarctica. And tonight we are talking with the manager of that station. It is wintertime there, so we're going to find out what all the work is done, the prep, living, everything there is to know that keeps up all the expeditions in Antarctica. We're finding out tonight. And no, it's not going to be, I didn't know you were on the calendar.
Let's get Erin Heard on the line.
Glad to have you on, Erin. Let me guess, your computer got frozen, quote unquote.
Oh, God.
Yep. You can say
there?
that. Yeah, it's strange. I had a Zoom call just not long ago, and it was totally fine, but went for lunch and came back, and nothing worked. So
I hear that. So, Erin, thank you so much for joining us on the program. We are currently Zooming you in Antarctica right now. Is that correct?
that's correct.
Okay.
McMurdo Station in Antarctica.
All right. I mean, right off the bat, I got to ask, for what I see in your background, you were an Arkansas gentleman. Is that correct? Is that where you grew up?
Born and raised in Arkansas, yes.
Oh, okay. So I'm guessing kind of a change in lifestyles going there.
A little bit. It's a little warmer in Arkansas these days.
Well, so give us a little background. And from what I understand, you were a civil engineer. Like, what was like the path towards the program out in Antarctica and McMurdo Station?
That's a great question. Yes, I grew up in Arkansas, studied at the University of Arkansas, got a degree in civil engineering, did various number of types of jobs for a while, worked as an engineer for a bit, decided I wanted to do some traveling, so started on a path of traveling and then kind of working odd jobs to support a traveling habit. Then decided wanted to do something a little bit more than just that, but not quite go back to engineering. So I literally Googled employment in Antarctica back in 2005. Google and the internet was a different place back then.
Yeah.
And yeah, one way or another, ended up on at the time the prime contractor's website. Back then they used to do in-person job fairs out in the suburb of Denver. So traveled out there, went to the job fair, and the rest is history. So it was a while ago.
We know the job market's always a tough one, but is the demand for Antarctic workers high, or is it something that there's only a few of you out there that actually want to go do this?
The demand is high. It's I didn't know much about it before I started in the program, and I think partly with social media and different things, it's a little more well known. I wouldn't say it's mainstream yet, but yes, there are a lot of folks that want to come down here and work. Kind of ebbs and flows over the years, depending on the economy and other jobs and that kind of thing. But there are a lot of folks that are interested in working down here for sure.
Now, you manage the McMurdo Station. Give us a little background on this location. Now, out of curiosity, is this like a U.S. like military base or something like that? Like when you step on there, are you on American ground, or what exactly is McMurdo?
Yeah, what is it, McMurdo? It is similar to a military base. The McMurdo was built by the military over the decades, starting in the mid 50s, and so it definitely has a military feel, just because that's how it evolved over the years. It is it's a research station, so the U.S. National Science Foundation took it over from the military. I believe that was finalized in the 90s, and so the National Science Foundation operates the station. We still have a little bit of a military presence and some support work that they help us with, which is wonderful. But as far as the ground and the buildings, no one owns any land in Antarctica, so we don't own the ground, so to speak, but we do have, these are government facilities for the most part. But the feel is similar. It is like a military base. We also, folks describe it as a college campus. It definitely has that feeling as well, particularly with the academic aspect of scientific research. We live in dormitory buildings. We eat in a cafeteria, that kind of thing. So it's a unique place for sure, particularly because no one owns Antarctica. It's not a country. It's treated legally. It's treated similarly to the high seas in a lot of regards. So it's kind of a strange place in all kinds of ways.
So give us your day to day. The alarm clock goes off, and what does an average day in Erin's life look like? Like, so what kind of things are we doing or working on? Like, help us visualize what's getting done down there.
Sure. So it varies quite a bit from person to person and at time of year. So I'll start kind of more generically and work more specifically to me personally, but generically, and overall, our mission is supporting scientific research. So that is, for the most part, why we're here, why the program exists. So we support all kinds of research that we can certainly talk more about if you're interested. So that's kind of the overarching mission, is supporting scientific research. Depending on the time of year, that can look like very, very, very busy austral summer season with lots of scientists here, lots of support staff, contractors, the military support that I mentioned before with our planes. We have helicopters in the summertime. It's a hive of activity, all centered around getting scientists out to the field for field-based research, or supporting scientists that are on station, doing research, and then a whole nother logistical component of moving their samples, to and from the U.S. So it's a big logistical center, but it's very, very busy in the summer. The winter time, which is the time I'm here now, is a lot more focused on repair, recovery, preparations for the next big summer research season. So we do some research in the winter for sure, but nothing like what we do in the summertime in McMurdo. The South Pole Station is actually a bit opposite. They do research in the summer, of course, but a lot of their research is actually done right now in the winter. So kind of a flip flop there. But anyway, back to McMurdo. Our typical work schedule is 6 days a week. 7:30 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. There are, adjusted schedules for certain tasks and certain job functions. In the summer, we work day shift and a night shift. So a lot of the operations are 24/7 or 24/6, depending on what it is. But most people work a 7:30 to 5:30, 6 days a week. So pretty standard stuff as far as a typical work day. For me personally, alarm goes off, get up, get ready, go to the cafeteria, for breakfast, then head to the office. And then, for me personally, pretty typical work day kind of things, emails and meetings and phone calls, that kind of stuff. Although I'm a little bit odd in that regard. A lot of folks are, their day, they get to their office or their work center and they're working on heavy equipment or, trucks and vans or snowmobiles or that kind of thing, or they're repairing our facilities and maintaining our facilities and that kind of thing. Or for some of our science support folks, they're doing maintenance work in the laboratory and getting ready for the scientists to come in next season. So pretty normal day in that regard. And then the end of the day, we have dinner in the dining room, and then generally have all kinds of activities in the evenings, everything from sports clubs to folks getting together to watch movies or TV shows, to lectures, to crafting events or, kind of makers kind of things. We've got some clubs where people hang out. We've got some gyms. A lot of people play music and get together and do that. So the evenings can be actually really busy, but busier in the summertime when there's quite a few more people here, but certainly busy in the winter as well. So.
Now, I saw a video of you like installing an antenna, actually like getting internet over into your area on YouTube. I'm kind of curious with the winter conditions right now. Is this something you can just go out and do? Like how harsh is it outside? Can you do a lot of activities outside? Can you go for I'm going to go for a walk after work today. Can you do something like that?
Yeah. Good question. So, that's actually a frequent question. Do we ever go outside? Do we have to go outside? Can we do stuff outside? And the answer is yes. So McMurdo, although it is cold year round and certainly colder in the winter and dark around the clock right now in the polar night, we do a lot of work outside. So some work groups, most of their work is actually outside. So we have one department that we call fleet operations, or fleet ops for short, and they run all of our heavy equipment. And it'd be in some ways similar to a road crew back in the States, where they're in like a mountain town, for example, where they're clearing snow and and maintaining the roads and that kind of thing. So they do all kinds of things in addition to that, but almost all of their work is outside. We have a lot of maintenance work that's done outside. Unfortunately, we'll have pipes freeze or things break, and that works all outside. And McMurdo, we actually travel. Some people have a concept of Antarctic research stations as being all connected, or having tunnels or that kind of thing. And McMurdo is not like that. We have 100 and something buildings. Like I said, very similar to a college campus where we're outside to go just about everywhere. South Pole Station is a little bit different. They are much more consolidated there. One primary station building, much like a space station or a moon base or something, and they do have some tunnels that go to some outlying buildings. They also have some buildings further afield that they go to, but they do. Not everyone at South Pole has to go outside every day, whereas in McMurdo, most of us have to go outside every day, if nothing else, to go get food. But South Pole is a little bit different. But they do go outside, and they do have work outside as well.
And I'm sure it's varied a whole bunch of different things going on at once. But what are the types of things that you guys are researching, or like, is there a primary focus, or is it just lots of ancillary groups doing different things? Is there a main goal for the group as far as what information they're trying to discover?
Sure. Yeah. So the U.S. National Science Foundation funds a wide array of scientific research down here. So I wouldn't say we have one area that we focus in particularly, and that we have some that are more I don't want to say popular, but logistically supportable, different years and different times of year and that kind of thing. So it also depends, across the program. The National Science Foundation maintains 3 permanent research stations, and they're all in very different locations, and that helps kind of spread our scientific capabilities. And then we maintain a lot of seasonal field camps all over the continent that also expands what science we can do. But as far as most of the work that we do or research that we do, it varies everything from biological research to on penguins and seals and small marine life to microbes in the ice on the continent or in some of the soils. So that penguins and seals, people are often familiar with those, so we do a lot of research on those.
Yeah.
But also we do right in our backyard of McMurdo Station, we have Mount Erebus, which is an active volcano. So there's volcanology there. We do a lot of glaciology and understanding how the ice cap moves and works, and just understanding how both modern day how the ice cap is behaving, but also a lot of work spent researching the historical, the timeline as far back as we can go to understand how the ice cap has changed over millennia. Speaking of that, the NSF is funding a big project that's looking for the oldest ice on Earth. So I'm sure I'll mess up some of the details, but we have historical records back 2, 3, 400,000 years, and we're looking for ice that formed 1 million years ago or more than that. And that the reason we're looking at that is not only to understand how the ice shelf the ice cap has worked over the years, but another huge part of the research that we're doing is climate research. So understanding Antarctica's place and how Antarctica helps or its position in kind of current climate behavior, but also looking back, tens of thousands to hundreds of thousands of years to understand what the atmosphere was like, back then. So that will give us clues to help understand, what direction things are going, or if the ice cap is experiencing very rapid change. But so we do a lot of climate research. We do some paleontology, actually. There were dinosaurs here at one point, and plants and jungles and all kinds of things. And so that's pretty exciting to see some of the fossils that they find here. Let's see, a really big area of research that we do that a lot of people are, I think, surprised by is we do a lot of astrophysics and astronomy at the South Pole Station. So we do we fund and sponsor some tremendously interesting research there, stuff, looking at the origin of the universe stuff. So the South Pole has a very unique environment that really supports high power telescopes and other things there. And we have some really, really impressive projects there. And I'm not sure if y'all have been following the Event Horizon telescope that I think it was last year took the first picture of the black hole at the center of the galaxy.
Right. Yep.
South Pole Telescope, NSF, was part of that here and with other telescopes around the world. But that was part of that project. Let's see. We do a lot of geology, of course, not only with the volcano, but, understanding geological processes across the continent. So I'm leaving out a ton of stuff, but I've hit some of the big ones.
Yeah. So when the new project comes along, like, what is your responsibility as it comes along? Are you gonna get a lab ready for these people? Do you have to get equipment or specimens or whatever? Like, what is your overall role in this when a new project comes in?
Yeah. How does it work? So the so funding for a project, funding and planning start oftentimes years in advance. A university or research professor or grad student, whatever, they'll have the idea, they'll present it through certain channels to the National Science Foundation. And I'm honestly I'm not an expert on that part of the process, but once the project is funded, that's where I understand quite a bit more. So a project is funded, it's given the green light that it's gonna be sponsored. So that kicks off a planning cycle for the program. So for some projects are fairly straightforward to support and don't require multiple years of logistical planning and buying new equipment and that kind of thing. So those can move a little bit more quickly. Our big projects, particularly ones that are based in the deep field, way out on the polar ice cap and require, special drills to be designed and constructed, require a lot of aviation support, a lot of people. Those projects generally take a few years to plan and purchase the equipment, and then get it all to the continent. That in and of itself, just by itself, is a pretty big big undertaking. And then planning the people movement. We only have so many beds on station, and so we have to coordinate very closely as people come and go. How that affects science projects and other work that's going on. But as far as kind of the nuts and bolts, once the project is funded and planned, we buy equipment, get it staged and ready, and then in a perfect world, all that stuff is here. The science groups come in, their support staff come in, and it's all orchestrated like a perfect symphony where things go in and out of the field, and then we get everyone back safely, we get the equipment back safely. And then another huge component I mentioned a minute ago was for groups that are pulling out samples, like these big ice cores that we take that are thousands of feet deep. Often we have to get all that ice in ice form, so from the deep field in Antarctica all the way to the National Ice Core Laboratory in Colorado. And getting something frozen from the deep field in Antarctica all the way to Denver is harder than it sounds. Once it thaws out, we've lost that sample, and that's just one example.
Not like a big styrofoam cooler, right? You're not.
No.
Right. It starts out that way, but you're right. We're not just throwing them in the cooler and putting them on the plane. It's complex.
It's very cool. Give us a little insight. Like, first off, how long are you there? Like per year? Are you like, what is your average work time frame that you're there?
Yeah. So we refer to it much like, I think it's a holdover from the military days, as our deployment.
Right.
So we refer to it as a deployment, like folks do in the military, and so it varies. I'm on a 6-month rotation, so I'm here 6 months and off 6 months. A lot of the folks come down for varying periods of time. So researchers can be here for, some are here for a year, others are here just for weeks at a time, depending on the project and what they're doing. A lot of our support staff, the contractors that keep the stations running and all that, it varies. Some of them are here for just the busy summer season, which is about 4 months long. More and more are doing a little bit longer, six months or so. Several do a year or over a year. Our right now, our maximum deployed duration without special permission is 14 months. So I've done 2 14th or nearly 14-month stints, and it is a long time to be in Antarctica. So we limit people at 14 months, but most people are here for about 4 months.
Good.
I was just about to say, no, I was just curious to know, like, you ever get back and somebody take you off, or you're like, that's it, I'm going back early.
Yeah,
Can't deal with you, honey. Sorry.
Yeah, you'd be surprised. This place gets in your blood, and I'm proof of that. I started in 2005. I was here for 4 months that first season. Thought I'd do it for a few years, and then that'd be it. And here I am, almost 20 years later, and several jobs and positions later, and I'm not alone. So
yeah, that was going to lead me to my question. When you do go back home, are you like, is it excitement to be home for a while? And I wanted to get an idea of what the process is when it's time to go back, like how that works and how much time it takes to get ready, and even just traveling to Antarctica, like kind of what is the process of getting down there?
yeah, so I'll start with the deployment process or traveling down. So most folks are U.S. based, and so we fly commercially from the U.S. to New Zealand. But for folks coming to McMurdo Station and South Pole Station, we fly from the States commercially, generally to New Zealand, and we have a logistics center in New Zealand. So we kind of congregate there, and then we fly most often on a military transport plane from New Zealand down to McMurdo. So that's typically a C-17, can be a C-130 or an LC-130. And then we've got a few other planes, not non-military planes. Well, actually, they're one or two of them are New Zealand military planes. But anyway, we fly on non-commercial service from Christchurch, New Zealand to McMurdo. And then that kind of starts our season off. For folks that are going on to Pole, most people will then fly on Air National Guard LC-130 transport plane, which is a typical C-130 a lot of people are familiar with. It actually has big skis on it, so they're very unique, really specialized, amazing planes. But that's how most people get to and from the pole. Some people travel on smaller planes. Other people will actually drive there on an overland traverse that we take supplies to the South Pole on. That's a whole nother story. But as far as when it's time to go, to leave station and head north, the process is pretty typical. I think, people know generally when they're going to go, so they'll start packing and all this kind of stuff. And we have some certain checklists that folks go through before they leave, handing in library books and that kind of stuff,
Yeah.
And once it's time to go, folks are packed up. We do what we call bag drag, which is where people take their bags to our passenger processing building where they're all weighed in and all that kind of stuff. That's generally the day before we actually fly. And then we have room inspections. We have to clean our rooms and that kind of thing, just like back home.
Yeah.
And then we fly north. We travel out to the airfield, and if all goes well, we fly north on the prescribed day. That's often disrupted by the weather, but so there has to be some flexibility in our travel plans, of course. But then, fly back to New Zealand and enjoy smelling smells again and eating different food and seeing trees and dogs and cats and all that stuff.
I was going to ask you, what do you miss most from home? Like, what is the one thing that we don't have this here? Like, I got to wait 6 months for this. Like, what's getting you through this, like, to get back home?
Yes. First off, my fiance, she's not here anymore, so we met down here, but she doesn't come down anymore, so I miss her quite a bit.
Just don't have a destination wedding in Antarctica. You're going to get not many people are going to be coming.
Just get the penguins. They're all wearing tuxes.
Right. Yes, they permanent tuxes, and we've had weddings down here before, actually.
Really?
Yeah, pretty fun. But for folks that were already here, but yeah, for friends and family, of course. As far as things that I miss, trees and plants and just greenery, really that I get excited to see trees again. I like trees. There's a lot of food that we eat very well down here, especially in the winter. But there are certain things that we just don't get down here or don't get much of. So I'm usually pretty excited to eat some fresh food and fruit and that kind of thing. Just yeah, different food, but that's probably the big one. But yeah, it's interesting. Different people miss different things. But for me, it's yeah, friends, family, some of the food, and I personally, being here in the winter, I wear long underwear all the time. I'm always putting my coat and hat and gloves and all this stuff on, every time I leave the building. And I really miss just putting on a pair of shorts and flip flops and t-shirt and walking outside.
Yeah.
So I really appreciate that when I get home.
As you talked about before, with like you have a limited group during the winter, it's dark all the time, you're working 6 days a week. What is like a gathering like when it's like time off and all? Is this like some really epic, like blowing off steam kind of moments, or are you all still trying to be like, no, we're professionals, we're in Antarctica, we have to be professionals, or is everybody just like letting loose and all when they got that free time?
Both, to be honest. Some people really like to blow off steam and do that in various ways, and we encourage and ultimately require, a certain level of behavior, and just like back home, we don't want people getting too crazy, but we understand, people need personal time and time to relax and have some fun and that kind of thing. So yeah, that happens within reason. Hopefully. So yeah, some people, would have we do have parties down here and that kind of thing, and dance parties and all kinds of things like that. I think most people in general are a bit more, in their free time, a bit more reserved and like hanging out with friends in their rooms, playing games or like I said, watching shows or watching movies, that kind of thing.
Right.
But yeah, people definitely do cut loose. A lot of people like to exercise down here to help keep their sanity sometimes, and so a lot of people will do that and mention the sports leagues and lectures, and the band room is really popular. Folks either learning to play music, or we've had some incredibly talented musicians and bands form down here, which is really fun, because then some of these parties, those bands will play, and that's always nice. We have a big what we call ice stock on New Year's Eve every year, which is an outdoor music festival, if you believe that. And some years it's very enjoyable with the weather, and other years it's a bit less enjoyable.
Are all the band names like Antarctic puns? Like I feel like they all gotta have something.
Actually, yes. Not all of them, but a lot of the band names are very creative and often are poking fun at certain things that have happened in the season, or a lot of them are ironic, or that kind of thing. So to be honest, there's a lot of thought put into the band names, as you can imagine.
Now I gotta ask you have a pretty epic beard. Is this a full year thing? Like, do we go home and get rid of it, or is this like, I'm going to Antarctica, like let's get it bigger and burlier?
This is I don't normally do this. In fact, it's been several years since I've grown a beard. Normally I'm pretty clean cut. But this year I decided, at the start of my deployment, I'm gonna grow a beard, and some days I love it. I do love it. It's so warm, so warm. But it drives me crazy most of the time. So at this point, I'm just kind of letting it go. It's wild right now.
Now, does the fiance know about said beard at the current moment?
No.
Oh,
did you? Oh, fiance. I thought you said Beyonce, as in
well,
Jay-Z and Beyonce.
Hey, like, if you got her on the phone, we'll ask her.
Yeah. Yes, my fiance is aware.
Okay.
And she comments that how nice beards can look when they're trimmed. So I take that as a
Hint,
hint.
hint, nudge, nudge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My last question for you is why do you do it? Like what is it that is a driving force to send Erin year after year back for now? You said almost 20 years now you've been doing this. What is it that drives you about it?
Yeah, great question. So what drives me to come back year after year is multifaceted. I really, really like being part of the mission and the scientific exploration and the research that this National Science Foundation funds. It's really neat to have a hand in. I'm not doing the research personally, but I'm here helping it happen. So
Sure.
that's just neat. We do some really cool things down here, and being a part of that is nice. Also, the community. So I have lifelong friends that I've met down here over the years, and still have, that I come down with, and the community here is very unique these days, I think, because it's very tight knit. Even more so in the winter because we have so many fewer people here than in the summer. So, everyone knows each other. We, sit at meals and have conversations and laugh and joke around and complain and, all kinds of things that doesn't, if you can imagine going out to eat 2 or 3 meals a day with your friends, like that's kind of what all of our meals are like, we're able to do that. So certainly the community is a big, big draw. I also like the lifestyle. So life down here, although is, full of sacrifices and hard work, in a lot of ways, it's very simple. So we don't have, we don't commute. We don't buy groceries. We don't have to, fill up our cars with fuel. I mean, we do fill up things with fuel down here, but it's not the same, as back home. We have a great kitchen staff and people make our meals and, all kinds of things are just simple in a lot of ways. There's a corollary to that stuff, but so that's nice. And then also I've come to really, really enjoy the large blocks of time away from here or time off. A lot of that time for me is off time. And so I love to work hard and be fully and intensely immersed in it down here, and then also take a step back when I'm back in the States and travel and spend time with friends and family. And so I've become kind of addicted to that lifestyle of big chunks of time on and then chunks of time off. So
it's a lot of time.
And there's 100 other reasons.
A lot of time you get to spend with Beyonce, in the off season. So,
yeah, exactly. Exactly.
It's a good thing she loves big beers,
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Erin, it's been a fascinating listen. We really appreciate it. It's kind of cool for us just to say we talked to somebody who was in Antarctica, just really appreciate hearing about everything that goes on there. If people want to know more about you, the McMurdo Station, the National Science Foundation, where can they go to get more information?
Yeah, if folks are looking for more, nsf.gov, which is the U.S. National Science Foundation website, is one place they could go. More specifically, they could go to usap.gov. That's the acronym for the United States Antarctic Program. So usap.gov is our slice of the internet. So that's a good place to go. Also, people can just Google, McMurdo Station or U.S. Antarctic Program and get a lot of information. There's some great videos that people have done over the years on YouTube and other platforms that have a lot of information. But usap.gov is kind of the best place to go right now. I know I often personally get a lot of questions about, how do I get a job down there? And being someone who originally, for myself, I Googled employment in Antarctica. You can still Google that, and we have a number of contractors that provide support staff down here, and that's a really common question. But yeah, Googling, career Antarctica careers or employment in Antarctica, it worked for me, and I know it's worked for many others. But yeah, those are some good places to look.
Very cool.
Awesome. Final question. Now, this episode will come out in like a couple weeks or so. What are the odds that we can make our show the #1 podcast on the continent of Antarctica? Give me a spitball chance. We tried the other 6. We didn't get very successful there.
You stand a pretty strong chance down here.
Yes.
All right.
Yep. I think things are looking good. We have a lot of podcast listeners, actually, just general, podcasts, because that's a good way to, pass the days for some folks as they're working through their tasking. And so, I can definitely put a sign up on the community board and send some traffic your way.
It's finally ours, Scott.
Yes, you can be the king of Antarctica from the podcast world. We've had some podcasts that have been made down here over the years, folks that
I'm sure,
wanted to do that and have some active ones, that with folks back in the rest of the world right now that have been down here. But yeah, it's possible. You might be the #1 podcast in Antarctica.
Got the fingers crossed, Scotty.
Yes.
You got this.
Amongst the penguins, maybe. Definitely not the humans, but
your show scared away many polar bears. We're very happy.
Yeah.
Erin, thank you so much for your time. Good luck with your tour right now. Keep safe, stay warm, and again, thank you for your time.
Yeah, I appreciate it. This was great. I'm glad we had the opportunity to chat.
yeah, thanks so much, Erin. Erin Heard, Mike. All 7 continents. I guarantee we've had someone from Africa. I was thinking about that during the interview. We definitely have had maybe someone from I know some of the shark people. The one shark guy I pissed off. I think. No,
I thought it was Australia.
Australia. I don't know. Someone was from South Africa that I pissed off also. And I think that documentary photographer guy we had on, Abraham Joff or something. I think he was South African. So
yeah, we have representation of Africa, but I'm just going to call random countries in Africa. I can change my caller ID. They can't block me, Scott. I will get to them.
No.
And I'll be like, can you join this podcast? And the first question, well, where are you calling from?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Botswana. Click.
Wouldn't you like to know where I'm calling from? But a very interesting interview. Would you consider work doing your IT balls, over there that you have, changing number if 6 months of working down in Antarctica and then 6 months back in Georgia off? Would you consider that?
I think I would. I mean,
me too. Other than my family, other than those 2 little demons I have, those children, if there was no children in play, I would totally consider it.
Yeah, I think it'd be a great adventure, and being able to just hang out there. You're going to have a close-knit unit out there. I mean, I guess that's the only concern. Once we go down there and the first person you met is the biggest piece of crap on the planet.
What if they have a tight-knit community and the next person that comes is you for the 6 months?
They're like, you're no Jerry. We're not talking to you. We like Jerry. He knew how to run things here. He didn't talk about caller ID at all.
Yeah. He talks about himself a lot and how he's a god and he has this podcast. And yes, he talked to Christian Okoye. We get it, Mike. We get it.
Yeah. I'm just saying I'm a little pissed off with the youngest man to be on the moon, okay? Is there anything wrong with that?
Yeah, pretty fast. Yeah, I think I'd be into it. Speaking of kind of wildlife and did you see that clip of the whale that breached and knocked over the boat?
Yeah,
oh my
I
God.
saw that.
This is one is just an incredible clip because that's a boat. I split a boat with my neighbor. That boat's a little bigger than mine. It just shows you we are just nothing. We are just, if a whale wants to knock over a boat, it's gonna knock over a boat.
It's going.
No problem. The sea is absolutely frightening. The older I'm getting more afraid of the ocean, which is strange because I was always a beach, jump in the ocean all day kind of kid. Now, I'm starting to think about the ocean more. What is in that thing? It is. I'm truly convinced that they might be the aliens. Like the ocean, like I think maybe these UFOs are coming from the ocean because we haven't touched any of it. We just go out.
We never got to like the bottom of most of them. So, I mean, it kind of, we keep looking up at the sky and we're like, where do those UFOs go? They just make a left. And when you're not looking, they go right into the ocean.
100%. I am thinking, dude, all the animals in the deep don't look like any other animals ever. You're telling me an octopus couldn't be a technical alien? Look at that thing. It changes colors. It opens jars. It's smarter than all of us. Like whales, they talk by making alien noises. We're just ignoring the aliens that are on the planet.
Yeah, I mean, the dolphins, they say they're like pretty much the closest brainwave to like humans and stuff like that. I mean, out of curiosity, how would you react if like you're in the field one day and like a UFO beams you up and you're going to get anal probed and a big whale comes out?
I'm going to get anal probed in the whale? Like he just...
No, the whale is going to... It's like they're about to do a procedure on you and a whale comes out.
I mean, it almost makes more sense than little green people from Mars. Charlie Duke could have let us know a little bit more about this, but
yeah, if his schedule allowed it, but no,
dude, it makes more sense. Like getting abducted, they just drag you down into the ocean instead of like planets we don't know about. They're here already. Like maybe like all those weird lantern fish that glow in the dark and have no bones and whale animals the size of boats that could just knock you over. Like I think maybe we're seeing this all wrong. Like we got to look deeper down. Maybe there's like a whole world down there that just like we're kind of like their experiment. Like, go visit the land people. And I don't even think we're that much smarter than dolphins or whales. I mean, we sit here and argue about politics all day long and sit on a computer. Like they're probably like, look at these. I knock boats over and rip seals in half like all day long. And I can communicate over like hundreds of miles making some weird noise. What can you do, Mike? You could change your freaking area code.
Yeah, I mean, that's how I would get in with the whales. I'm like,
right.
They're about to do something with me. I'm like, hold on, let me show you something, and like pull out the phone. They're like, but you have a 732 area code, and I'm getting a call from a 418.
Yeah, I feel like you could pull it off with humans. I feel like whales would figure you out in 2 seconds. Like, get out of here, IT boy. Back to the surface. Back to the service for you,
Scott. I was just thinking, remember that like submarine that went down to the Titanic and then imploded? Once did they like went off course and they were fine, and they found like the motherland of the underworld aliens. Maybe that's why we haven't heard back from them.
I'm just saying, like, we're always looking how to defend our country, right? With like these anti nuke missiles and aircraft and everything. The ocean. They figured out how to defend that years ago. You can't go down that far because you die. Like that's the best defense ever. Wakanda is nothing compared to our ocean.
Yeah, we should just fill the ocean with crude oil and kill them all. I feel like we're wasting time. They're going to attack us. We got to be on the offense.
I mean, think about this. Their defense is so good that any human, like, let's just put 100, 200 feet of unbreathable water in front of them. They can't get down to us. And then we live miles and miles and miles even below that.
And look what's down there. You've seen those fish, the ones that like has a light on its head and
those
has
angler
sharp teeth.
fish. Yeah.
I ain't going to mess with that.
Nope.
I'd be like, you know what? I'm going to take whoever wins this election. I'm going to take you to them and you can take care of them. I don't care.
You know what? Like, we're not a big conspiracy podcast, but I think maybe I'm on to something here. If I don't show up the next couple of weeks, it's not because I'm changing diapers and running around after my kids. It's because I found out. I figured out I'm going to get offed very soon. One of those Hillary Clinton people are coming after me, and I'm going to end up the next guy who conveniently drowns in the lake that's next to him.
I would like to think, like, I don't hear from you. I'm like, oh, the ocean dwellers got you. But meanwhile, you're in, like, Babyface's basement as he just slaps you for, like, 3 hours.
I'd rather be the whales any day than be in Babyface's basement. God. Well, the other theory I had is, what if we are the aliens? Like, we're not like any other animal here. All the other animals have similar survival techniques. They're not worried about their computers and dump. What if we're from somewhere else? And we're just kind of here as an experiment, destroying the planet that we live on. And they're kind of like, okay, that one didn't work. Let's go back to the mother planet.
So like they're in the water and like ancient flounder is like, hey, I looked up on the surface and there's this Adam and Eve up there.
Yeah.
I'm not sure about this right now. And they're like, oh, hush, Charlie. We're just doing flounder life. There's nothing wrong with it. And then as time goes on, it's like, I told you, the bread.
I don't even mean like separated from the ocean. Now, what separately? What if we are the aliens on Earth? Like, we are the foreign species. No one could really trace us back. We think we're from monkeys and Neanderthals and all that stuff. What if we are this? Because no one has records of us going back to the whales, going back to the crocodiles, going back to the dinosaurs. We just appeared randomly. What if we just showed up in our spaceships and our Wi-Fi and we just came here and we're just kind of messing it up for them? And like the original ocean people or ocean whales are just like, whatever. They'll be gone, in a blip on the timeline of Earth.
I gotta be honest. Like, if I get abducted by a UFO and it's just people who look like me, I'm gonna be very disappointed. I gotta be honest with you, Scott. Like, you in your head, you got all these ideas. I mean, we literally talked about like whales coming out and little green men. And it's just like me with a hat on and all looking like a UPS driver.
yeah. What if it's just a bunch of us up there and they're like, all UFOs they're going to retrieve it's just like an old grandfather being, can you go get my daughter? Like, really messing up. Let's bring her home, please.
Terry, where are the other humans?
Stick the thing in her butt and get her home.
Maybe I left a few on Earth. Go get them.
Yeah. I don't know, man. There's definitely some unanswered questions. But speaking of Pornhub,
so you had this idea. You're like, how am I going to segue from it? And you just hear me go, and our guest.
Yeah.
Oh, thank God.
So the other day I was going through, just cleaning my shelves and stuff on this bookcase, and my brother made me this 40th birthday book. You were there for my birthday that people just sign, like pictures and stuff like that. And I was reading through it because I really kind of forgot about it. I'm like, oh, let me read them. And my cousin Kara had put like, happy 40th birthday, Scott, to the one and only cousin who introduced me to 1-800-BAD GIRLS. Now, I vaguely remember this as a kid, like calling these 800 numbers from payphones. Like, that's what we'd go to McDonald's and use the payphone and call these random numbers and be like, oh, like it would be like, hi there, big boy. You looking for some fun? Enter your credit card info, and for $2.50 a minute, we could have the time of our life. And we'd laugh and like hang up the phone. I remember we would call what was it? Not 911, 411 for information. Like prank the person, be like, oh, I'm looking for the directions to a restaurant called RD's Naked and Eat. And they'd be like, what? Like, yeah, RD's Naked and Eat. You get naked, eat there, you eat on the floor. And we thought it was the most hilarious thing because they'd be searching in the city and be like, what town was it? We're like, Rahway, New Jersey. And they're like, oh my God, they're looking up RD's Naked and Eat. Yeah. As a kid, this was the best. So I was at my cousin's yesterday. And I was like, oh, yeah, no, I brought the thing up. I'm like, oh my God, 1-800-BAD GIRL. And she's like, yeah, I don't know, you called it one time. We were all laughing in the basement. And I was thinking, I'm like, do you think these phone lines still exist? Like, do you think like sex talk or whatever is still a thing?
I do know let me explain. I already know where you're going. No. Listen to me. So, one of my favorite YouTubers, the Angry Video Game Nerd, he like brings up games from the past, and he reviews them, and he has hilarious jokes, and he also has like Nintendo Power, and he brought up how I forget what the game.
We never
was.
had him on the podcast, right? We had somebody.
No, we had the Cinema Snob, who was like in that direction. But in any case, like he brought up on his review, there was something like it was a world sweepstakes, and like they had a world sweepstakes game, and you play it, and then you would get at the end of the game, you would get a number to call to kind of say, hey, I won the game, I guess submit your score or whatever, and to be a prize. And he called the number, and it's now a sex line.
Oh,
it's like, it's blowing my mind. There's a Nintendo game with a sex call number in it.
yeah. So I guess these things are still now. I've been a lonely man many times in my life, many periods of my life. Have you ever been tempted to call one of these? Like, I don't even like talking to people that much.
No.
Ironically, we have a podcast where we talk to people, but like in an erotic way. Like, I've never really talked to my girlfriends or wife like sexy or dirty or anything. It doesn't enter my mind. Like, I would probably say the complete wrong thing. Like, I put gas in the lawnmower today. Like, I don't know. I would say something completely terrible.
Oh, I'm burning hot, and you want me to turn on the AC? You want me to get you some like Brewster's ice cream?
I'm so wet. Oh, you need a towel? I got a new shop vac.
Oh, you poor thing. And do you need to dry off? I don't think I would be comfortable in the ad-libbing to like go through. Like just calling it to begin with would be awkward, let alone trying to get into said fantasy, let alone get into the ending of it all. Yeah, I don't think that's like a full process that I can go through. Now, granted, I can change my number, so they'll never know it's me. But
if you were to start off a sexy moment, what would be your line? What would you say? Right now, top of the dome, what would you say? If you were to go seduce your wife in the next room, what would you say? What would be your
my wife line? And want to go to Disney?
But
moist right away. That's all I would have to say. Like I would probably just like whisper something in the ear and all.
Oh, yeah. What would you say? What would you say?
I don't know, my wife. I mean, it's like, hey, I saw you at the gym today, and you were looking nice, all sweaty, all covered in your body, and
oh God,
it's not I'm not known for my sex.
That sounds like the guy who can change his number. You were looking all sweaty on your body.
Yeah, and I saw it on your back, and
let me think about what I would do if I know kids right now. Because it was alone, I would just walk in the room and I'd be like, "Hey, it's been a long time. The kids are to bed. Like maybe we should, fool around a little bit."
You see, you seem like the type that's like, if you think it's like an opening, like you'll do something, like you'll just be in boxer shorts and helicopter going into there. That's what you seem like the type, and all. That's like your intro.
I would present it. I would present it like,
What's going on here? What are we going to do about this, huh?
So now, Mike, this conversation about 1-800-BAD-GIRL presented an opportunity. I had the curiosity in me had to call. So I had my cousin and her husband. And the bet was, do you think 1-800-BAD-GIRL is still an operational service? Now we're talking 30 years ago. Because I was probably 10 years old and thought it was hysterical. Mike, if you were a betting man, would you say 1-800-BAD-GIRL is an operation? And if it's not, what do you think it might be?
The number would be functional. Being in telecom, 800 numbers are the number one. Hey, I'm bragging here. Be quiet, you.
Okay.
The audience got to know who they're dealing with here. As a telecom person, I know 800 numbers are highly in demand, so by rule, it would be an active number. I am going to say it is going to be some kind of food service support line.
Okay, so 1-800-BAD-GIRL, not operational. Here we go. Let's take a listen.
Hey, lucky boy. Welcome to 800 Bad Girls.
Wow.
Do you know what makes a bad girl?
No.
I called you lucky because you're about to find out that what
I
makes
am.
us so bad is that we never say no. We're not shy like other girls. And you don't have to buy us dinner or drinks. In fact, we're so cheap, you just have to ask for it, baby. We love giving up our sweet little asses to you.
Oh.
Bad girls.
Mike, 1-800-BAD-GIRL, 30 years later, is still rocking and rolling. So when you ask me if I have anything to promote, that's what I'm going to promote tonight.
Yeah. I'm going to assume that's like the original Bad Girl. So like that girl is like 70 right now.
Did you hear how cheap? We're so cheap. We'll do anything. Just
ask for it.
Yeah.
Don't call 1-800-GOOD-GIRL. They're going to ask you to like give a credit card. We're cheap as hell.
It'd be great if they evolved over the years and they were like 1-800-BAD-GIRLs and like a food service and a cleaner. And like, if you're calling about your dog's allergies, press 1. If you're calling to get in touch with Cynthia, the bad girl, press 3.
Yeah, I am touching myself and I would like a Mr. Beast burger.
So, guys, we learned a lot today. We learned a lot. We learned about 1-800-BAD-GIRL. Guys, please feel free to call. We learned that slap fighters are top-notch people. We learned all sorts of science stuff about Antarctica. And I don't know. It's just another great week here on the podcast. I mean, getting people from the moon is very hard. So if you want to shell us out $1,000, send it our way. We'll get Charlie Duke on the podcast.
I think there's 3 other people who's been on the move that's alive right now. So I'll be searching for them. I'll find you.
And can't wait till
we'll be on my show.
Can't wait till all 4 suddenly say, "Well, all come on," and we have 4 mooncasts in a row.
They'll all be like 93 years old and
what, Charlie?
I was on the moon. What?
Just tell them the whales are the aliens already.
Erica, did you know I was on the moon?
Tell them it was fake, and we already know the dolphins control everything.
Grandpa, just hang up. The guy's just going to call you back at a different number.
I can't believe they haven't discovered the ocean yet. We've known about this for years. But anyway.
Thank God that one guy in the rocket died, or we all had to tell you the truth about the flat earth. Damn it.
Mike, anything to promote before we get on out of here?
I am going to give a shout out and good luck to Anastasia Pagonis. She is in France right now for the 2024 Paralympics. She was a guest on our podcast. She is a blind swimmer. She is one of the top blind swimmers of the Olympics. She has 3 world championships. She is a world record holder. She is going for another gold. Go get it so we can brag about it, unlike our slap fighters who win titles.
And I want to promote a product that I was, privileged to try. I sent you a picture of this the other day, Mike. My cousin's husband and her came back from Iceland, and they let me try this whiskey. It's called Floki. It is made from Einwerk Distillery. Now, it sounds insane. Icelandic single malt whiskey, sheep dung smoked reserved. That's correct. Sheep dung. You did hear me correctly. So he explained that it's in this old ancient Celtic cave and they smoke the whiskey by burning sheep dung. And I will say, I'd give it a 4.3 out of 5. It was delicious. Ooh. It was kind of light. I'm not really into the smoky stuff that much, but it had just enough smoke. Not really. It was more in the Scotch family than like the bourbon or Irish whiskey family, but I thought it was delicious. So, and I got to try sheep dung smoked whiskey. So
thank you, Sheep. You have a purpose. You give us wool and great whiskey with your crap.
Yeah.
What else can we ask you to do?
So I don't know if you're able to get it. He said you could get it in the airport over there. If you're over there, look in the duty free shop at Floki. Einwerk Distillery, Icelandic single malt whiskey. It was really cool. It was delicious.
And visit the Penis Museum while you're down in Iceland. Get your sheep dung whiskey and go to the Penis Museum, which we had on the podcast before.
A little poop, little penis. Also, that was one of my favorite episodes. Anyway, guys, I want to thank Erin Heard for coming on the show. Fascinating interview. It's good to be back. We're getting the ball back rolling here. And we got some good stuff coming up. So please keep subscribing, keep following. And that is it, guys. Life is funny. Laugh at it. Keep the wind at your back.
Coming for you, moon people. There's nowhere to hide.
Change your numbers, folks.
To 1-800-BAD-GIRLS.